everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a monochromatic design, and when you think monochromatic, usually a lot of times you think of, like, at least I've heard people say, like, just black and white, but monochromatic means a color and black and white together. So that is a monochromatic look, so it's all shades of the same shade of green is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be showing you some new colors from Nail Reserve. I've never tried this company before, so you're going to get little snippets of my opinion on pigment, curing, texture, paint quality, like as far as when you're painting with it in the design, and we're going to do a little wintry tree landscape in the process. I hope you guys like this design as much as I do. If you want to see any of the colors that I got from Nail Reserve, I'll put their color names in the description box below, along with a little coupon code, so check for that, and I will see you all next time. Bye! Here are the three colors for this monochrome design. It's Black Addict, White Addict, and Royal Green. So here's the Royal Green, and you'll see how I apply this one just straight over a nail as well as within the painting. Then I've got the white and the black. I'm going to open all three, grab a palette. I'm going to place a nice blob of each color onto the palette in a triangle. So I've got the green, and then the white, and then the black. Don't line them up in like a straight line. You want to make them in like a triangle or a circle so that you can easily access all of them together. I'm going to take a stir stick of some variety. I'm going to be using a dotting tool. It's my favorite species of stir stick. I'm going to mix some white and black together to give me a nice medium gray. But within this medium gray, you can easily darken a side of it or lighten it to get a multitude of colors. You can keep mixing and get a million shades of gray if you want. Now I'm going to take some of my green, mix it with black to get a darker green. I'm going to wipe off my stir stick. I'm going to take some green and mix it with some white to get another shade of green. So we'll have white, gray, black, dark green, light green, and the medium green that we started with. With the medium gray, I'm going to apply a smooth coat of that with just an application brush on the thumb and then the middle and the ring nails of this set that I'm doing. So there's the first coat. It applied pretty well for using an application brush, I'd say. Now for the second coat, I'm going to dab the color kind of radially so that it's lighter in the middle and just slightly darkens towards the edges, leaving a little spot. So it's like the sky, and then I'm going to create the horizon. I'm going to tap this out. I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. I want it to have some brush strokes that are still present in it as if it were an oil painting. Now that I have that first little area started, that's going to be the sky behind the horizon, I'm going to take some of the white, and on a different kind of brush, a little striper liner brush, I'm going to be adding in the snow that is in the foreground. So as you can see, as I'm working with this white, I mean, it is fairly well pigmented. It isn't moving on its own. It isn't self-leveling. It does self-level when it is painted, but it's not going crazy as I'm working wet on wet here. It's just kind of staying exactly where I put it, which is what I look for in a gel polish to paint with. I don't feel like it's quite as pigmented as some other brands I have used in the past, but with that being said, it definitely does the job very well. And this company is 21 free, and so that's going to remove the majority of allergens and irritants that might be in other brands of nail products. I can't attest to how well it soaks off, as I personally didn't soak it off. I just was painting with it to give it a first little trial, but it does seem like it has a nice texture. It does seem like it cures with some flexibility, which is also something that I look for in a gel polish. With a light shade of gray, a very light shade, I'm going to be adding a few trees in my background and then curing. After that's been cured, so I cured first the first layer, and then I did like the background, and then I'm going to cure after the midground as well. Now I'm going to take my green. This is that royal green. I'm going to be adding my two trees that are going to be in the foreground. So the first one, I'm just going to paint it down, not going all the way to the tip of the nail. I'm just going to stop it a little bit up from the tip. Then for the second one, I'm going to take that from not quite as far tall on the nail, but then go all the way down to the tip of the nail. Don't worry about, what the trees look like at this point. As far as how much coverage you have, you do get an idea of what kind of coverage I was able to achieve with this, but we're going to be adding other layers. So if they're not perfectly opaque, that's fine. With the darker shade of green, I'm going to be adding some shading on either the left or the right of the tree, whichever side you choose. Make sure it's consistent throughout the design, and then do that for the second tree. Cure again. Now, after you have your tree to that point, you can blend in with some of the original shade of that royal green, and then go through and add some highlights with the lighter shade that you mixed. You can do highlights both on the left and right of the tree, but make sure that they are more heavy on the opposite side from the shadows. But don't be afraid to add a couple of the highlights on the shadowed side as well. With just the White Addict, I'm going to be adding a couple little dots in the background and then some highlights on the same side that I highlighted my foreground trees on the background trees. Maybe a little bit just on my snowy ground. For the index finger and the pinky, I'm going to apply 2 coats of that royal green. You can see the coverage is, it's passable. I'd give the coverage like a B+. After the second coat, it does seem to have pretty good opacity. It's not streaky at this point. And I think if it were over the top of a nail and not a plastic tip, an actual person's nail or a filed acrylic nail, it would have better coverage than over these plastic tips. After those have 2 coats, I'm going to take my mixed shade of lighter green and I'm going to be painting a snowflake in the background. This is very subtle. The color difference between the green background and the snowflake is not like a huge vivid thing, but I want these to be very soft and almost invisible back there. The first one I paint is going to be, like the size of a pencil eraser, and then I'm going to add a couple that are much smaller and then a couple dots. I'm going to apply a layer of matte top coat over the whole design. This is not a top coat that is from Nail Addict, it is one that I had in my kit previously. I'm going to just apply that top coat over all of these nails. Once they are matte, the effect of the trees and the backgrounds and those nails are going to be so beautiful, like an oil painting, just so soft looking. I love the way that looks. And now I'm going to go back to the White Addict and I'm going to be adding little highlights and snowy branches on my trees. So this is on top of the top coat. I'm going to take and just add little bits. I don't want to take over my trees and make them just look like white blobs. I want to still leave a majority of the green showing through, just taking and adding a little bit of snow on them as if they just started to accumulate snow on their boughs. Just little bits here and there, both sides of your tree. Before you cure, take a scoop of white acrylic powder and pour that over the top of your snow. The reason to do it with white is it's just going to make your white gel polish look a little bit brighter. Not that it needed it, you could also use clear, but in this circumstance, I feel like white just brings the whole thing out a little bit. Set that down and cure it. And now I'm going to go to my other nails and I'm going to, on those solid green ones, the pointer and the pinky, I'm going to paint one large snowflake. So it's going to be about twice the size as the biggest green one that I did in the background. I'm keeping these rather simple. I'm not going too detailed on my snowflakes. The reason for that is if you do have too many little details, especially once you do sugar them with the acrylic powder, it may blend some of your details together. So you don't want to do too many details too much, and don't have your gel polish be too thick. Because if you do have gel polish that is too thick in this type of a design where you do pour over it, it might push the gel out and make it flood into other details. So just try to keep it a little on the simple side. Obviously, I'm doing lots of little lines, so depending on your definition of simple versus complex, you can go pretty complex with it. But I've seen some snowflake art where they're just immaculate. Don't go quite that crazy. Sugar it with your either clear or white acrylic powder. After you sugar it twice, I always like to do it twice to make sure that it all saturates well. Then you can cure all of the nails and then remove the extra acrylic with a brush. So now for the other colors I received, I'm sorry my camera's being a goof. The first one right there is called Pink Addict. Coverage on the pinks is actually the best of all the colors that I tried. The second one is called Be My Baby. They're very similar. Be My Baby is slightly less peach toned. The third one is going to be Pink Universe. That one's a little darker. And now I'm going to do a second coat. Like I said, the pinks I thought had the best coverage of between the pinks and that green. And then I am also going to show you a burgundy color. They were so pretty and they do cover very nicely. I think the brushes on these are pretty good. As far as a nail brush goes, there's some I really dislike. These ones are definitely usable. That burgundy color is called Diva. As you can see, the coverage on this one is similar to the green where it really does need that second coat. I would say the pinks do very well because they have a white base, whereas the other ones being a dark color have a clear base, and that's where they're a little streaky until they get the second coat. But overall, super happy. I love this design. It's so elegant. It's like a little sneak peek into winter. I hope you like it as much as I do, and I will see you all next time. Bye!